Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, and there's Frankie Corrado. There he is, Frankie
What's
Corrado.
going on, boys?
Look at these guys, pro athlete salutes.
Holy smokes. Have you walked into Doogie and JP's room in a little while? Have you seen what's going on in there?
Let me guess. Cologne everywhere.
No. Not even cologne could fix what's happening in there. It is a biohazard.
Oh, I know. I stay out of there. I don't even
like
go
a
in
complete biohazard. I think they saw a possum in the corner.
Yeah, it's dark. It's grungy.
Crazy what's happening in there, man.
It's like the forgotten part of this compound, right? We're up here at the CTV TSN kind of media compound, and I don't think anyone else I don't think there's been a cleaning crew through there in months.
They're like, I'm not going in.
Yeah, I just think
you could do a CSI, find a body back in there and report it, and nobody will show up. Nobody will go back there.
I'm not even joking. This happened 5 minutes ago. I walked in there, and I said to those guys, I can't believe what this place looks like. And then I point to, under the table where, it's a mess. And then JP looks under there, and he goes, oh, there's the back of the remote that I've been looking for weeks. And he goes down there and picks it up. And I said, how does the back of the remote end up there? He goes, I have no idea, but it did. And now I got it. And the remote's back in one piece.
Well, these guys refuse to turn the light on in there too, right? Because couldn't you turn the light on, JP, and maybe have found that thing 2 weeks ago?
Oh, yeah, there it is. Look at that.
Yeah, see, there you go. The light's on there. It's awkward, actually.
I
need it off. I don't want to be staring at Doogie and JP and Owens back there creeping people out. We don't need that type of behavior. We don't need to see the light on. We just need it dark, and it's all good.
It's crazy.
But the guys are back there grinding. They're in there grinding.
Yeah.
And in the morning, a rod and 20 fingers are in there.
That actually could be an episode of Hoarders.
Yeah.
You could get that room on an episode of Hoarders.
You see a wild scene in there, man.
Yeah.
It's a wild scene.
If you ever want to blow this place to smithereens, just go in there and light up a dart, and it'll absolutely, the whole building will be gonzo.
Yeah, it is. It's quite something. Quite something. Wow, Doogie's cologne is flammable.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
Are you a fan of Doogie's cologne?
Yeah, you come in and it always smells
It's a
different.
good welcoming scent.
I think he has 40 different kinds.
He claims he's got at least 25, I think was the last tally.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And he
really
wears
unnecessary.
multiple ones at once, which is controversial.
Yeah, he's a chemist.
Exactly. Different arms, different sides of the neck will have a different cologne. Anyway, you're in here to do Habs panel tonight?
Yeah, a big one.
Yeah, because you got Habs in Long Island. Both teams chasing down a spot right now. The Habs are holding it. It's kind of amazing. And the Islanders are really starting to pick up wins anyway. And they've had two comebacks, multi-goal third-period comebacks in the last two games.
Which is crazy because they don't score.
Exactly.
They don't score. And, Pierre Engvall is all of a sudden, a revelation.
We inspired him, man. Us and Patrick Waugh.
But you know what's crazy for Montreal? The playoff implications, yes, it's obvious. We're looking at it on the screen. But if they win this in regulation, it goes to a 47% chance that they're going to make the playoffs. If they lose in regulation, it's down to in the 20s.
Does that
23.
even mean anything with 15 games to go? We talked about that the other day.
Extreme.
Yeah,
it's an extreme.
If you
variance.
win, it's 47. Okay, and then what if they lose two in a row? Then now it's 12%. It's then what does that even mean?
I think it's based on who you're going to be playing down the stretch here, right? There's going to be the potential for 3-point games and divisional matchups.
Yeah. I hear you. I get it, and there's a formula and all that, but we're dealing with human beings, and if they lose 3 in a row, then
it's so annoying.
Whatever your calculation was 48 hours ago.
If they win a lot, they're going to get in.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
if you win tonight, you got a better chance to get in.
Jonas hates the stats. I don't know if you guys
all
are
of a sudden
aware
you hate
I've always hated that.
Yeah,
that one's stupid.
And then St. Louis, Vancouver tonight, and then St. Louis plays Nashville 3 times in the next 2-3 weeks. So, that could very well be 6 points in the bank for them if they just play the way they're supposed to.
Right.
It's crazy what's going on right now.
Yeah, tonight's a big one. You got Ottawa against Colorado tonight. And Ottawa, there's an example of it, the percentages. Prior to the Montreal game, it was you got a 90-something percent. You lose 2 in a row in reg. They could lose to Colorado tonight for sure. All of a sudden, they're going to start to grip their sticks a little bit. Yeah, now you lost 2 in a row. What's going on here?
It's kind of those analytics are kind of like Captain Obvious things, just like the expected goals and the shot and all this stuff. It's you watch a game and you look back at the analytics, you're like, yeah, I could have told you they played like garbage. Great, thanks. The numbers told me as well.
Don't say that.
Well, we were discussing now in terms of the Leafs last night, where they lost the expected goal matchup and the possession matchup and shots on goal, and I think the high danger scoring chances were pretty close.
14-12.
14-12 for Colorado, so that's effectively a coin flip.
Yeah.
But I think the Leafs' reaction would be Joseph Woll, A, played very well. B, a lot of the shots maybe from the outside. Mm-hmm. And, they looked as if they were pretty comfortable in the third period. I thought they played very well in the third period. You get a power play goal, you kill some penalties. It's not always going to be perfect, but I think they deserve to be happy with their performance, and obviously that's a big win last night.
And it's not flashy, but it's another one in a long list of games this year where you could say it wasn't overly entertaining, wasn't overly flashy, but they found a way to win the game, right? And I think you're always kind of looking at differences year to year with this team because of the narratives with the coach and how they want to play a little bit differently, but. I just think it's kind of just like an industrious way of winning for them, where there's just nothing overly flashy. Wall was great. My big takeaway was Austin Matthews looked like Austin Matthews again, like using his body, getting into other guys' bodies, like willing to engage a little bit more. Like that's if you just watch the last two games that the Leafs have played, and someone told you, hey, this guy may have been hurt or he may have been banged up, you would say, yeah, I couldn't tell from those two games.
Right.
Which
Either
very,
I don't believe it or he's
nice.
overcome those issues.
Yeah.
Now, he's had a couple of pockets throughout the year where you thought, okay, he's going up again. He's starting to come alive. And then, it's dipped. So it's on him to continue that. But I would agree with you. I think the biggest positive would be his game in particular, the top line. That top pairing of McCabe and Tanev is a handful, too, for opponents. Like, they're going to play a ton of minutes. Like, they're going to have playoff games where they're going to play 26, 27 minutes. And that's a big benefit to have. It's a lot of strain that's going to be placed on them because they're going up against the big boy. Like, if you're playing Tampa, you're going to be facing Point and Kucherov almost every shift.
And every other night, right?
Every other night.
You know what
it's
Cooper's going to do, too? Like, Cooper will do that early in the game. He'll start jumbling the lines. He'll move Kucherov away from Point. He'll move Gensel. Like, he's going to be cheeky with how he tries to get away from that matchup.
Right. And yet Joseph Woll, we haven't talked a lot about him today. He deserves to be talked about. He was so exceptional last night.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was so good and just poised. And, Stolarz goes tonight. Like, I think Stolarz still is probably the lead man in terms of what you project to be game one start. You don't think so, Jonas?
I think it's a toss-up.
You think it's
I don't
still a
think
coin
we're
flip?
going to know until, the last one.
And maybe that was always going to be the case.
Yeah, it's
with
just
a
whoever's playing well going into the playoffs, I think will play.
You don't think they would have a feeling, though, one way or the other?
No, I'm sure he has a feeling. Like, if you gave him the truth serum, like you did the lie detector and meet the parents.
Day by day, guys. Like now, I bet you he would be thinking, man, I bet you if the playoffs started tomorrow, I might throw a Wall in the net.
Yeah.
And if things flip next week, it's the other guy.
Yeah.
And I honestly think it was always going to be like that.
Yeah.
Whatever guy has the feeling of what Joseph Woll has right now with the coach the day before the playoffs start is probably going to be the guy. How could it be any other way?
And you know what, too? It's like, this is a great problem to have because this is not a problem that they've really had. Like, they haven't had this caliber of goaltending. So either guy that's going to be going in is, A, going to give you a chance to win. And what we've seen from these guys, they can actually steal you one, which, as much as we talk about, you can't score or the power play dries up come playoff time. It's nice to just get one stolen by a guy, which it seems to happen for a lot of other teams in the playoffs as well.
Well, exactly. And, either they've only had one option. Like last year was basically Samsonov's got to play. Or Freddie Anderson was a clear-cut number one, and he's going to play. Here it is a tandem, and it's somewhat undetermined. But what the point I'm making, or I guess what I'm asking, is not the feeling based on what's happened throughout the season or even what's happened in their last 3 to 5 starts. I mean Berube having a feeling of who he thinks is a big game player, like who he thinks can actually close the door, because that's separate. That's different. That's how you run into a Binnington situation where Cooper goes, I don't care how he plays right now. I think we can get to a big game, and he will perform the way I need him to perform. That was Brett Fuhrer's reputation forever. I don't care if he's struggling. I believe that guy has the wherewithal to step up when we need him.
But you don't think either of those guys have gotten to that point?
I don't think they can't, obviously not to Binnington or Grant Fuhrer's
No, but like any,
I would say Joseph Woll has the upper hand in that category of
just because he's actually started.
Because he's actually played playoff games and played extremely well when he's been healthy.
Like, yeah.
It's not. I know that, but Stolarz has not.
It's zero.
Stolarz has
zero to
zero. And maybe Stolarz has that gene. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, Joseph Woll. I do wonder, and I feel like I might have an answer on it. That they might look at him and say, when this guy's on his game and it's like a 2-2 game in the third, I can trust him.
Yeah.
And that's
the
probably going to be a part of it
that too. Right?
Yes,
like
close games, 1-goal games.
Yeah.
He plays very well in the third period.
Yeah, he's really been able to hunker it down. As much as, I think a coach is going to look at how they play in those situations. I think sometimes with these things, yes, it's a gut feel, but it's almost like, how does that guy carry himself around the room with the team? Like, there's just something to be said for, like, and I kind of realized this later in my career, but the guys that kind of walk around like the alphas, coaches notice that kind of stuff because they're not in the room every moment all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, they kind of catch a glimpse of you, and they'll go back in.
I remember when they traded for O'Reilly, that was one of the things that Sheldon Keefe said, like, right away.
Yeah.
This guy's got presence.
Right. Yeah, they pick up on
Swagger.
that kind of stuff. So, like,
Yeah.
The on-ice product for sure is going to be, paramount. But maybe there's just like something if one of those guys carries themselves where it's like, there's something about that guy where I kind of just trust what's going on between the ears.
Can I ask you guys for a Jerry's? I'll ask Jeff, actually.
Ooh.
Mini Jerry's.
Mini Jerry's. Percentage that both goalies play in the first round.
I'm low on this because
Not because like they're going to rotate necessarily, just because both goalies play for whatever reason.
the optimist in me is going to go low on this mini Jerry's, Jonas, because I don't want it to happen. So I'm going to say 15%. But in my head, I probably know that might be a wacky percentage to present to you.
Yeah, I think I'd go higher than
I think I'd
15%.
put like
I'm 89%.
60. Oh, wow.
89%.
That both of them are going to
Both of
play,
them are gonna
presuming they're
play.
both healthy and it's not
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
scenario where a guy's
See,
hurt.
Yeah.
the reason
Both
I
of them
say
are
this,
gonna
guys,
play.
if we're talking about Florida or Tampa, what do you think the mini Jerry's is in Tampa or Florida with Bobrovsky and Vasilevsky seeing
Well,
both goals?
obviously,
It's zero.
Yeah.
But I guess
years
here's
ago, Florida had the Lion.
yeah, he
and
started.
he started it,
Yeah.
and Bob went in. It doesn't happen with Tampa, but it happened with Pittsburgh when they won. It happened with Washington when they won.
Yeah.
Like there's.
I'm thinking
Vegas.
of like leash. So let's say Woll starts game 1. Let's say it doesn't go great, and he's like the reason they lose. Is he starting game 2? It's like
Well, yeah.
probably not. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I think that the door may be open for once you get to the playoffs, you just don't have enough time to let it breathe.
Right.
But it's also, there's something to the moxie and the confidence you're sending your team if you panic after one game.
True.
Like if after one game, like it's one thing if you take Yarncroke out and put in someone else on the fourth line, changing your goalie after one game. How do you go back to that guy?
But you
if
think
gave
back
him
to
one
last
game
year,
and you,
Hayes,
and you panic to that
You
extent.
could argue they waited too long.
Yes,
to go
they
to
did.
Woll.
Yeah.
You can paint so many different scenarios because if you go down that path, you say you start a guy game 1, he doesn't play well. So now you got a decision to make. You keep him in. What if you lose game 2, but he plays just above average? Like, did he do enough to keep himself in the net for game 3? Like, you probably should have
Probably
made the
not,
decision
yeah.
for game 2 to go to the other guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just with these two guys, they're both good. They both had really nice stretches of the season. It's not like there's a name brand there that it's like you got to keep him in no matter what. Like it's anyone's net, and the remaining games are going to be the tell of who's gonna solidify that to at least get the first one.
With Frankie Corrado in studio again, we've got a lot of Canadian content tonight. Where Ottawa's playing, Montreal's playing, Vancouver's playing. Of those three teams, of those three fan bases, how would you rank it in terms of heartbreak if they missed?
Ooh.
You got Vancouver, Montreal, and Ottawa. You can throw Calgary in there. I just feel like Calgary would be fourth. I feel like they were embracing the idea of it being a rebuilding year and a tough year.
Ottawa would be busted right
Yeah,
now if they didn't get in.
100%.
Ottawa's at number one definitively.
Yeah, just because they've
Definitively.
they've been in a playoff spot for longer. There's like they've kind of, it feels like Ottawa's rounded the corner. For them to blow it at this point, like that would be as heartbreaking.
And they've had the
as it gets.
longest drought, too.
Yeah.
between them, the Habs, and Vancouver.
I think there's.
So I go Ottawa 1. I'll grant you that. Okay, Vancouver or Montreal? Which fan base?
I think Montreal would be more heartbroken just because of like the optimism that's building right now. I think if you ask Vancouver fans, like, hey, what would you think if you missed? They would say, yeah, I could see that coming, just based on the way the season has gone. Like
they've been self-loathing all year.
They've just kind of come around to the fact that like there's a possibility there. If you ask them in November, I think it would be a different story, but given the way the season's gone, they're probably like, I wouldn't be surprised.
At the start of the year, Vancouver would have been number 1
Yeah.
on that list after the season they had last year.
Yeah.
And no one predicted this with Miller and Pedersen and Demko's injury and all that kind of stuff.
Vancouver was probably looking for another crack at Edmonton, saying, we're going to get you this year.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Why
Vancouver
do you think they
would have been
signed
real
all
high.
those big trees on the back end?
Yeah.
Like, I almost think if you go back to the offseason, they're like, we're just going to go bigger and heavier because we want to slow down Edmonton and finish the job this time.
That would be that's a pretty good bit, man. We should do a time machine bit. Like if we all fly back to like August 1st, 2024 or September 1st, how would you rank it in terms of heartbreak of missing? Because then you would include Toronto. Like Toronto would be high on that list. Edmonton would be 1, I think, because you just lost Game 7 of the Cup final. The idea of not making the playoffs next year is just, it would be an impossibility to even
I'm
embrace.
more than happy to jump in the hot tub time machine tomorrow.
Okay, let's do it tomorrow. I think there's a lot of potential, like going into the past type content here.
Oh, yeah.
We'll dig something up.
Lots
Is that
of things.
Back to the
Aaron
Future?
Rodgers,
Yeah.
Leafs, Canucks.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, wow.
definitely.
Tiger.
Tigers won.
Tiger.
Which Toronto athlete would you prefer to go back in time and sign?
Ah,
Vladdy, Marner, Bichette.
dude, crank the hot tub time machine up to get the bubbles going. Get it at 104, and we are wearing our bathing suits tomorrow,
Yep.
and we're hopping in.
I love it. All right, we just created something on the fly.
Get the Speedos out.
I'm jacked for the hot tub time machine tomorrow. We're going back in time.
We need
We have
some
to
kind
have
of,
like funky music when you hit, like you push the lever down on the hot tub time machine.
Totally.
Like,
We need Chevy Chase involved. Remember, he was in that movie as like a bit player, as the guy that was trying to fix the time machine and
Doogie's
the
already
hot
working
tub.
on a Photoshop everyone in a Speedo.
Yeah, make it work, man. Make it work, Doogie. Okay, there we go. I love it.
Yeah.
That's all I needed today.
That's perfect.
End the show.
Yeah, I wish we could leave right now. I wish we could go in a time machine right now.
Well, you
Hey,
guys,
just get outta here.
got to do this 5 days a week, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just grind away, man. You just keep grinding away.
3 hours a day.
Actually, you know what we should do? We should ask Frankie the Hart versus the Cup question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because we had one
I was
earlier.
listening to this.
Okay, well, how would you answer that? What would have to be
I guess the question is, how many hearts are worth 1 cup?
right?
So is it 2, I think is what we landed at.
Like, would McDavid give up his 3 hearts for a Stanley Cup?
yes.
3 hearts first? Yeah.
That's a lot of hearts.
so.
That's
A lot
all
of
his
hearts,
hearts.
man.
I know, I think
That's,
he
you got
would,
more
though.
than Sid. You got like you're in an area
Listen,
that
man, you don't get a parade for a heart. You don't get like
you get a lot of money for a heart.
I know, but you don't do the whole day with the cup with the heart. Like it's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about the cup being like etched into that legacy.
you.
Guys, there's only
I
one
know.
answer. Maybe you go in the hot tub time machine and ask him when he gets drafted. What would you rather have?
Yeah.
That's a good pre-draft or draft interview.
Yeah.
He gets
They should ask.
drafted.
How would you
go
answer?
in the hot tub time machine. You turn it to 104, and you say, "You want 5 Hart trophies or a Stanley Cup?"
If a scout asked you that at the combine, that is the most no-brainer answer of all time. You say, "I want a Stanley Cup."
Yeah.
100%.
I think
Don't
you
even
do,
get
but
me
I
started
don't
with
even
those
think that's the right
stupid
answer.
questions, man.
That's not the right answer. Because if you're a scout, you're like, I'm going to draft the guy who's going to win 5 hearts. What a pick! Like, what a draft pick.
Dude, you know how stupid
that's a
you would
great-
say you
that's a-
don't win. You want the Hearts over a Stanley Cup. You
But-
get crossed off lists.
Yeah.
But
They're-
think
they're-
about how stupid that
Yeah,
mentality
it's
is.
like the best player in the league.
How dumb that is. You know what I mean? Like it's.
What do you mean?
it's-
You're hungry to win.
Yeah,
That's all
5
you
hearts means you pulled your weight personally. Like that means that the draft pick, the scouts can't go back and say, "Man, we picked the wrong guy." You picked the greatest player in franchise history.
Dude, those
That's
guys,
outside unless you get drafted in Edmonton or like
Jeff,
Pittsburgh or something.
Can you please chime in here? Those guys sitting around the boardroom in their khaki pants.
I know what they
are
want
going
to
to
hear.
be salivating. When you say, I don't want 5 Hearts and I want a Stanley Cup.
I know what they want. That's why it's such a stupid question, because you know the answer is going to be Stanley Cup, and then it gets even more. Well, would you give up would you never see your parents again or win a cup? I won a cup. Oh, I love this guy. It's so stupid.
There's so many dumb ones, but I remember this one. They'll ask you straight up, a guy that you're like comparable with, are you a better player than so-and-so? And then you just got to answer.
You have to say yes.
Obviously, you say yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you've got to say yes.
The best part is like they'll ask you like a guy, let's say you're like a mid-round pick. They'll ask you like a guy that's going to go top 10. You a better player than that guy? Like obviously you're not.
Right.
But
Dude,
what do you say?
I got to ask this. What are you going to do if Bob Probert chops you across the arm and drops his gloves and wants to go you? I'm like, well, I'm not really into fighting Bob Probert, but I guess I'd have to. Like, it was just, I just wanted to look at the guy and say, you're so stupid.
Yeah, like stop asking me stupid questions.
Yeah.
Please.
Like, and the other one was, what are you going to do if there's a minute left and you have to go out to the point? Are you going to try to poke the puck for a breakaway and empty net goal, or are you going to block the shot? I'm like, this guy gets paid money to ask. I'm not going to say the guy's name again because it was so embarrassing.
I know. Like who comes up with those two?
Like just talk, have a normal
Yeah.
conversation. Phil Esposito was a great conversation. Although he was flat out, he goes, I don't think we're going to be able to draft you, so let's just kind of shoot the breeze. And I'm like, that's what an interview's supposed to be like. Just get a feel for the guy, and that's it. This other Ottawa interview was so stupid. Like, what are you going to do if Bobby Probert drops the mitts?
Yeah.
Like,
I love taking notes
probably
on
take a beating and, like, hope I don't get roughed up too bad.
Yeah.
And then you start overthinking it because, you're thinking, what do they want me to – they don't want your honesty. They want you to say what they want to hear. And that's why, again, I'm saying, man, 5 Hearts. Give me 5 Hearts.
5 Hearts.
5 Hearts over a cup. That means I pulled my weight.
You're the best player that never won the Stanley Cup.
That's fine, but I got 5 Hearts.
And you will always be.
Best player to never win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
Sundin, got to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, Sundin, you could probably go back in time and find
Go in
players.
the hot tub time machine.
Yeah. Well, you know what? David just tweeted in. He said, better name for tomorrow's segment, Hot Take Time Machine. The Hot Take Time Machine. Hashtag you're welcome. Wow. We are welcome. Thank you, David. You're a genius. We're going back in time in the Hot Take Time Machine.
Dude, if
tomorrow.
you don't we're wearing swimsuits tomorrow. We are.
Okay.
I am. If you want to go with
mine.
a long sleeve shirt up top, you're allowed. But it's bathing suits tomorrow.
Okay. I'll wear mine. I've got a couple dialed in, man. I'll wear mine. Joe Thornton, Jerome McGinley.
Yeah.
Those are good ones.
Yeah, there's probably more from the 70s and 80s that.
Dude,
someone
so many
texted
good
Marcel
players.
Dion.
Yeah.
Did Marcel
Dion, there he is. Daryl Sittler, I don't believe ever won, right?
Yeah.
Like Sittler never won a cup.
And Bryan Hayes.
Bryan Hayes,
the best. 5 Hearts.
5 Hearts.
No cup.
5 Hearts, no cup. Call me 5 Heart.
Frankie, are you going to come on the Hot Take Time Machine tomorrow?
I don't know if
everyone's. It's a party at the hot Take Time Machine.
We'll be in touch tomorrow. If you want to partake, you can partake.
We're going back in time, man.
You guys have your people reach out.
I love that we're going back in time for takes. This will be outstanding.
Yeah.
The date is June 13th, 1987. Hot takes. All right, we've created something. Doogie, we're on it. Hot Take Time Machine tomorrow. Catch you on the panel tonight.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
We'll be on the Deuce, TSN 2.
Yeah, big game. Habs Islanders tonight. Pierre Engvall. Yeah, he's on his way. He's on his way. The Islanders are cooking right now. All right, there's Frankie Corrado. We've got Matthew Scianitti coming up from L.A. ahead of a big match, Canada-Mexico tonight. We'll tee that up later in the hour and get to our best bets as well. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on the under tonight. Shesterkin, Stolars. I think the Leafs will be a little bit tired. The Rangers haven't been playing great. I could see them easing into this game tonight. Under Matthew Nyes, anytime point. William Nylander, 3+ shots on goal. Let's pay at plus 723. We're We go on big game hunting tonight on this SGP for the Leaf Ranger game tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19+, physically located in Ontario. Matthew Scianitti later in the hour. You see Patton Kazire punt his putter today at the Valspar.
I think he knew he damaged it because he had to grab some other kind of hybrid to finish the hole. Look at this thing.
Yeah. Dude, that's 30 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And then
he's like a mild-mannered. I know he's a competitor, but he's like lives in Sea Island. He's just a cool customer. He lost his mind.
Well, and then he pulled the chute claiming a back injury at the Valspar.
I hate that, man. You can't kick your putter like that.
Yeah. And then claim your back's spasming.
No, you're just junk. Just say, you know what, I didn't have it, I pulled a pin.
Right.
But I don't think the tour would be a fan of that if you actually admitted that, because they're like, you took a spot up and then you gassed everybody.
Well, that's exactly it. It's Thursday, man. You know what I mean? It's Thursday.
You took up a guy's spot that would have been dying to play in that tournament, and then you pulled a shoot.
And he punted that thing. I've
never seen that one, dude.
I've never seen that either from a professional. That's what I would expect a 10-year-old kid to do.
Yeah.
And that is 30 yards in the air, and that's a legit NFL punt of a putter.
Show the putter punt.
He just punts this like Scotty Cameron into the air. Yeah, that's quite something from Patton Kazire.
Very Happy Gilmore-ish.
Yeah, well, you see Happy Gilmore 2's coming out. Yeah, dude, that's a legit, it just lands. That's a serious kick.
That's a slow burn. He must have putted so poorly today. And for that to happen, he just said, that's it, I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
What is the worst behavior you guys have witnessed on a golf course? Whether it's
from amateurs?
No, just whether it's someone you're playing with, you see another group.
Dude, go on YouTube, man. There's people getting drunk and fighting other people. People are going nuts on golf courses.
Yeah, you see some pretty wild stuff out there.
Yeah.
I've never seen a fight break out personally.
No.
I've never witnessed that.
And if anyone I play with is about to partake, my clubs are on my back, and I am out. I'll walk.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
stupid.
not partaking.
What are you doing?
Man.
We're out golfing. Why? I get it. Usually, it's sparked because someone's hitting into you, and slow is one thing, and then then it's probably both worlds are colliding. Too slow, too fast, being unsafe, hitting balls towards people, and then all of a sudden someone freaks out. But I don't know. I can't say I've really seen anything too egregious, because you do see some idiots carving up greens and stuff. They'll miss a putt and they'll jack up the green, which is the worst thing you could ever do.
Crazy stuff.
To just to take a divot out of a green is so it just jams up everybody. It's so gutless. But the Valspar's underway. I can't say it's necessarily a riveting leaderboard right now. Jacob Bridgman. Ricky Castillo's up there. You got Kevin Velo. I don't even know who that is. This board is not exactly great. Send a DM to Chambly and see what he has to say about that.
I will,
Okay.
because we are tight and we do follow each other on Twitter. I was like a 10-year-old kid when I noticed that he did unblock me, but then he also tossed a follow.
I love it.
Thank you to my coach,
Shout
Ralphie
out.
Bauer.
Ralph Bauer. Shout out. We'll get into this Thad Young thing tomorrow. I don't even really want to give it any oxygen because Thad Young, former
it
Raptor.
grossed me out, man.
Yeah, he was doing he was on a podcast with a couple of other former NBA players, and he was basically saying he didn't like his time up here. We don't even have to play it. I can give the gist of it, but talking about customs and the weather, and it was tough, and his family didn't love it up here, and it just that was the gist of it. And listen, everyone's sensitive up here, and we always have been, because the Canadian team it's one of one. There's 29 American teams in the continental U.S., and the gripes have been there from the players forever, and it's just a reality, and this is just digging it back up. Not for everybody, but there's a number of players who are like, it sucks, we got to go through customs. When I play in the States, I don't have to.
Man.
Totally. It's absurd, but it doesn't mean it's not a true gripe that some guys have. As stupid as it is, and I agree with you, this is the definition of privilege and ridiculous attitude that I've got to go through customs. there are guys who say it bothers me and I don't like it. And so that's just something the Raptors have had to deal with forever. And to the credit of the Raps, like they've never allowed it to bother them. They just keep going and building, and you get the players who want to be here. And that's always been the issue. Where you don't get ESPN up here and it's cold and you got to go through customs. Those have been the gripes for 30 years. Yeah. Like Thad Young's, it's no different than a lot of other guys who've spewed off the same thing. And so be it. Fine. Then don't play here. Like, go play somewhere else.
It would be weird if 100% of the players who played here loved it.
Well,
that's
it's not going to happen.
Very important perspective.
ESPN in Toronto.
That used to be a big, big issue back in the day. Guys would say that we don't get ESPN up here. We don't get TNT. We don't get American TV, which is valid, which is true. And again, it's the only team in the league where that would apply. But you bring up a very important perspective. Not everyone loves playing in New York.
Yeah.
Or LA or Miami. There are guys who are like, I don't like it here. Like, for whatever reason, and families and wives and
people
kids.
Who live in Ontario don't like living in Toronto. Like,
right, exactly. Exactly. You can go 3 hours outside of the city. They're like, I don't want to live there. I hate that place. Like, you're never going to get 100% everyone loving you. It's just, I feel like Canadians and Torontonians are so sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Where I don't think, again, New Yorkers are like, oh, you don't like New York? Who cares? Then get the hell out of here. Like, if you don't like it, then so be it.
Take a hike.
Yeah, go somewhere else. No problem. We're good. And guess what? Like, Raps have won a championship in the last 10 years.
No,
a lot of other teams haven't.
Yeah.
Right? All good. Okay, Matthew Scianitti coming up. Canada, Mexico in LA tonight. This is a big match, Jonas.
I know.
Big match because they're chasing a championship here. This counts for something. And Jesse Marsch has spoken about it a lot since he arrived. He was in studio with me a month and a half ago, and he talked about the significance of this. So we'll get you an update on the starting 11, what we can expect tonight, how big of a match this could be, how many Mexican fans are going to be there. It's probably going to be 90% Mexican supporters.
More.
Yeah, possibly 95%. Scianitti coming up, and we'll continue to look ahead to Leafs Rangers tonight down at the Garden. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, it's going to be a great night tonight. You got the Leafs and Rangers playing. You got the Raptors back at Golden State, right? Back in Golden State.
That ends a run of them playing the worst teams in the league every single game.
Yeah, every game they play horrible teams.
Unbelievable. It's like Utah, and then it's like Philly, and then it's like...
And Philly lost again. And
they're winning all these stupid games, too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. Like, the Sixers, I don't know if they're going to win another game all year. Like, they're now, because they have a top 6 protected pick that goes to Oklahoma City. Yeah. So they're doing everything they can to hold on to that pick. They're going to lose out. Paul George is done. Embiid's done. Brooklyn is horrendous.
But they find, like, they're plucky. It's like every team is trying to out-tank each other.
I know. And, like, tonight, it is a weird mentality to have that you kind of feel good about the fact that they're going to lose to Golden State. Yeah. You know, they've lost the last couple games. Golden State 8-2 in the last 10. Jimmy Butler's fit in really well there. But you got that tonight, and then also on the West Coast, you got Canada, Mexico in the Nations League semifinal.
In L.A.
In L.A. at SoFi. So this sets up to be a really great night. Leafs right into Raptors, into Canada, the national team. It's a late night. But it's a big night. It's a very significant match. And again, if Canada can get past Mexico tonight, they likely play the U.S. In the final this weekend in L.A. again at SoFi. So let's head out there now. We just saw him on SportsCenter. Here's our man, Matthew Scianitti. What's happening, Matthew?
Boys, what's going on?
Not much.
Scianitti, I've always wanted to ask you this. You go to some fantastic places. How do you get these pics taken? Is it like set up? Do you tell someone, hey, when I walk out there, take a pic, or how did they all come about?
Oh, dog, you know what? I can't reveal.
Dude, you look good, buddy,
man.
and I'll always admit it. You look good, but how are they happening?
You know what? Sometimes it really is intentional and by design. You got to let everybody know. If you're going to go ahead and look 50, you got to let the world know, oh, dog. That's it, bro.
I appreciate that, man.
I do. I have respect for it.
We need that. We need our staff, and we need people taking
Dude,
side profile
imagine
pics.
someone taking us serious enough to do it? They wouldn't.
You know what? You guys have some nice suits and some good flex when you're on broadcast, but if you need anything, I got a hookup for you. So
okay. All right, we need that, man. We need it. Doogie, I'm looking at you, dude. You better pick up your game. We need some side profile pics while we're in action. But the weather looks beautiful out there. I just saw you and KJ doing a hit. Put this into perspective for us, Scianitti. Like, how significant are the next two matches? I guess, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but getting through Mexico, the idea of actually winning this thing, how significant is this for Canadian soccer?
I'm going to put this in two ways, Hayes. One, beating Mexico now, as Canada wants to assert itself as being the top dogs in CONCACAF with all the talent and everything they did coming out of Copa America, it's huge. And I'm not going to take the air out of the balloon and say not winning wouldn't be that big of a deal, but the fact is Jesse Marsch wants to turn the heat up a little bit, and the heat's going to be real high here because Mexico shows out when they have an opportunity to support their team, especially in LA. When you figure that many of the Canadians, the prestige of playing in Europe is fantastic, but some of these Canadians have had to fly upwards of 12 hours across the globe to get here to Atlanta. Well, about three-quarters of the Mexican team just has to go ahead and drive north of the border to get to LA. But I think ultimately Jesse Marsch has said this again and again and again. We want adversity. And as much as a trophy means something to the likes of Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David and Stefan Isakio and throughout the lineup, for Marsch, it's just getting closer to 2026. Look at the friendlies that have been announced this week. Ukraine is a significant friendly, then traveling to Romania, traveling to Wales. They're now starting to face, in those international friendlies, potentially teams they could face in the World Cup. But winning a trophy, look at the energy just in the country when Canada faced Argentina twice in the Copa America. These players feel it. They want the country to be behind them. But the fact of the matter is this. Winning does that. And winning a trophy just escalates that even further. So these guys are aware of it. I spoke to Alphonso Davies 2 days ago. He's calm. He got a big, brand-new contract with a lot of money from Bayern Munich. But the one thing he wants is a trophy to really assert Canada as the top dogs in CONCACAF.
So in terms of the starting 11 tonight, I saw yourself talking about it, writing about it. I saw Stephen Caldwell the other night. Cyle Larin is going to be starting, and he hasn't been playing a lot in Europe. Can you take us through the mentality there and the reasoning from Jesse Marsch as to why he's going with Larin?
Yeah, I know, and the fact of the matter is this, Cyle Larin hasn't scored for his club in La Liga Mallorca since mid-December, and I don't have to tell you guys, when you guys go ahead and debate goal scoring, especially with the Leafs, if you're not scoring, why are you playing and why are you getting that many minutes? Mm-hmm. But the fact is, if you look at Cyle Larin's overall goal-scoring record with Canada, second all-time, 30 goals scored, and when he scores, Canada don't lose. And the one thing about Cyle Larin, and I know it sounds odd, but at 29 years old, he's not in the prime of his career anymore. He's got a lot of mileage on him. But when he plays for Canada, he really does go all out. And he allows Jonathan David, who really is such a spark plug for this team, and Jesse Marsch in a number of ways. Look at the goals he scored for Lille in the Champions League this year against some big, big opposition. But having Cyle Larin in that lineup allows Jonathan David to move around, be aggressive, get in the play, and be able to then be at the end of the play and score the goal. But if Jesse Marsch has to look at his bench, he's going to look at two big, big bodies now, because we've all heard that Daniel Jeppesen from Bournemouth in the Premier League and Promise David from Union Saint-Geraud in the Belgian League, these guys are imposing figures who are younger, they are eager, and they have the legs really to carry Canada if Jesse Marsch needs them. But Jesse Marsch puts a lot of faith in these guys, and he's very, very, very loyal. He's going to go with Cyle Larin tonight. It is one of those big calls. Let's see if it works out for him.
Matthew, you mentioned the World Cup, and I wondered how much you think this matters as like a springboard for them into the World Cup. Like, is it a respect thing? Is it a confidence thing? Like, how much does this actually matter heading into next year?
No, Jonas, it's all confidence. These guys will tell you, Alistair Johnston will say over and over and over again, we want to hold up a trophy. They had an opportunity a couple of years ago in this competition, and they lost in the final, and it really hurt them. I think, though, that holding that trophy up for them signifies one thing, that this feeling that they have that the Mexicans and the Americans, they don't look down on Canada necessarily anymore, but there is still a bravado that the Americans have when they play the Canadians, and a lot of that, quite frankly, is driven by the American media soccer machine that just pumps the tires of the Americans constantly. And here's the fact. If you look at Canada's lineup, player for player, pound for pound, it is as competitive, and I would say in the key skill positions, more talented, more competitive than the Americans. Sure, maybe some people will go ahead and debate that Christian Pulisic is the more talented player, but look at Canada's lineup. Look at the way that Jonathan David's been playing. Look at Alphonso Davies. Look at Alistair Johnston. Look at Stefan Isakio. And yes, maybe someone like Ismail Kone hasn't been playing a lot. He got loaned out from Marseille after his coach called him out in the media. But here's a player, when he played in France and Bordeaux last year, was the player of the game. There's natural talent on this Canadian team. And if they can lift the trophy, it just gives them that sense and that ability, as Marsch has been hammering over and over again. Puff your chest out. Put your chin up. You guys are the best in CONCACAF, but really, you only can really say that if you win.
What's it going to be like in that building, Scianitti? Is it going to be a gong show or what?
When the Mexicans come out, dog, it's a different kind of atmosphere, man. But here's the funny thing. I watched Canada play against Argentina in Copa America, and then Peru and Chile and Venezuela, and Argentina again inside MetLife Stadium. They're not fazed by any of this. If anything, the Canadians keep saying to me, we've got to get more Canadians down here. We've got to get more Canadians down here. There's only going to be around 100 Canadians who are coming down. I don't have to tell anybody else the state of the Canadian dollar right now and what that means for Canadians wanting to travel to LA at this time of year. But the Mexican team and their fans, as much as, and this Jesse Marsch said this yesterday, they want possession. They want to have the ball. They want the crowd kind of uproaring with all those olays, olays, olays. But Canada's not fazed by this stuff. They're not fazed by noise and sound. They want to assert themselves, and I can guarantee you this. You're going to see a lot of physicality of the Canadians. They're going to want to go at the Mexicans right from the kickoff. Yeah,
it's going to be a great one tonight. Canada, Mexico out in L.A. Enjoy it tonight, Scianitti. We'll do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Cheers, boys.
There he is, Matthew Scianitti. And, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of Mexican fans in the house tonight in L.A. And there'll be Canadians. There will absolutely be Canadians, but it was overwhelming. Like, remember when they were in Atlanta playing Argentina, like Scianitti said, it was like 90% Argentina fans. And they're going crazy.
Dude, that was 98.
Yeah, it was closer to 100%. It was. And yet Canada, they lost those matches, but they showed up and responded. I think they'll be comfortable tonight. It's a big match. And you get through this, you find a way to, pick up some sort of, keep getting trophies. That's what Jesse Marsch keeps talking about. It's never been a part of the Canadian men's national team's history. Like, they've never really won anything. And they've been the big boys of CONCACAF for the last 3 or 4 years. You got to continue and follow through. So, yeah, that'll be a great match tonight. You got Leafs in action, Raptors in action. Leafs Rangers tonight. David Kampf going in for Calle Jarnkrok.
Yeah, interesting.
Like, Jarnkrok, you got to be fair to him. Like, he missed camp. He's been out basically all year. I don't know what to expect out of him. I don't know what he's going to have in the tank come playoff time, but I haven't seen the lines. But if it's like Lawrence, Lawton, Camp, that's a weird fourth line.
I would move Lawton up. Try him with Tavares and Nylander.
Yeah.
Yeah,
give it a shot. But, like, Lawton has not played well, and he looks uncomfortable, and Berube keeps saying, like Lawton, honestly, is in a scenario where it's dicey for the coach because your GM just got him. You want him to be comfortable. You paid a price for him.
Yeah.
But
based on performance.
Better, he's got to play better. Like, it's not no guarantees you're in the lineup every single night.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Like, if Pacioretty returns, what's the latest on him? Have you heard anything?
He just hasn't been practicing with them. So,
dude, I think him returning in any capacity would be a stretch from what it looks like right now.
With
like,
the
you're
time
talking about a guy
Yeah.
that's not around. Like, not around.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Hockenpot thing is kind of not happening.
That's not going to happen either.
I feel for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that guy do? Does he go on the ice, or
he was practicing with them for a bit? He was around, and now it's just like he's not even on the ice with them. So,
Well, and if you're Berube, you want to know who's available and who's playing.
Yeah.
It's no longer, I go out there in your red jersey and toot around. Like, if you're going to practice, and they barely are going to practice.
Well, and like if Pacioretty, like he's been out a while, like he's
before the Four Nations, he just got hurt during the break.
Yeah,
and he's had so many gruesome injuries.
Yeah,
so maybe he's out of the picture, and Hockenpah is out of the picture. But that means they got to figure out what they're going to do with who they have.
Yeah,
right. And
a lot of questions with their lineup.
Yeah.
Lots.
Like, the top line is going to be intact. That's happening.
Yeah, Tavares and Nylander will play together, and that's about it.
Although I'd love to see them mix that up every once in a while. But it won't happen. All right. Leafs Rangers tonight. Raptors out in Golden State. You can hear that on TSN Radio. And, again, Canada, Mexico tonight. It's going to be a fun one. And the tournament's going on, man. You get the March Madness. It's crazy. It's going to be a great, great night. All right, Jonas, thank you for doing this as always.
Thanks, boys. Enjoy your time machine.
Yeah, we will. The Hot Take Time Machine. There's Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Speedos and Teabacks at 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.